Let's talk syllabus. We got the course description, a lot of the language pulled from PLTW itself, Capstone course. It's not meant to add new material itself, new content, but it's all about the design process. So that is your goal, is really to facilitate that design process using a lot of the content that you've already learned in other courses, and adding any more skills that you need to along the way, depending on your problem. And that problem is up to you, student interest. You're going to decide what that is going to be. Open to 11th, 12th graders, you can take it potentially twice. If you take it in 11th grade, you can take it 12th as well, because the problem will be different. Overall, the project elements and milestones. So the elements are kind of broken down. Usually we hit 2 to 3 per quarter, but the overarching kind of structure of the course is quarter one are all about identifying the problem, and then we design a solution, we prototype and test that solution, and then we evaluate it, how did it do, and present it. That is the full thing, the longest project you've probably done in high school so far. But there's more detail to it. So when we're identifying a problem, we're going to research potential problems, get up to speed and knowledgeable about it, try to figure out, is the problem valid? Is it justified? We're going to research previous solutions. So why are those solutions not good enough? And we're going to figure out design requirements. So what should a good solution be able to do? So that's going to help us design the actual thing. So, and then we'll basically present all of that at the end of quarter one on our project proposal. Here's what I'm proposing to make the project on, and I won't let you get that far down the road and say no to it. We'll have a lot of conversations early on in the first couple of weeks, trying to figure out what problems would be good to dig into. Designing a solution, we're going to generate design concepts, brainstorm, figure out what criteria, constraints we have to apply to those. We're going to help choose a solution. We have methods of doing that. We're going to demonstrate viability, try to figure out, is this a viable option? And then for our midterm is going to be that preliminary design review, is basically like, here's the problem we want to solve. Here's what we want to think. Here's what we think we want to do about it. Here's the presentation we're going to do. And then we make it. We prototype and test it. So we make the actual prototypes. We test those prototypes. We try to figure out what are the features that it has to have. Some of those tests may be check the box, did this, it meets this criteria, it meets this criteria. And at least one of the tests is going to be to design an experiment to actually test how well it does in something quantitatively. And what that looks like will depend on what kind of project it is. We'll analyze those results and then give a critical design review sometime just before spring break, to say, okay, here's where we're at, here's how far the project got. And then at some point, the prototyping has to stop and we have to present that. That's usually our cutoff for, okay, here's how far I was able to take this. Here's what maybe the next steps would be. And then quarter four, we evaluate and present. So we get external feedback from mentors we've made along the way, and also at an innovation showcase or innovation expo that we're having on May 1st. And I think this is the first year that we'll have other schools at that showcase as well. More info on that to come. Mr. Farrow is working hard on that right now. So that's the process. That is the whole course in a nutshell. That's what we're going to do. Stuff that you'll need: headphones for the occasional video that you need to watch in here, pen, pencil. The engineering journal, we can supply these unless you want a better one. That's basically going to document your whole process as you go. And a folder or small binder to collect any paper handouts that there are. Much of our work is digital. We don't have a lot of that kind of stuff. But however you organize things, up to you, totally fine. In terms of digital classroom, Google Classroom, of course, kind of push out assignments and structure our work. We have a public-facing website. That's the bit.ly/jcentral. That'll have kind of our calendar and info about the course and any blog updates that we have about what's going on and the presentations we posted there. So that'll go out to the community and the world. Our curriculum site, mypltw.org, is going to house all of the documents and preparations for each of the elements that goes along with it. And there's activities there, there's notes there, there's kind of we're not just going to leave you hanging and say, here, go figure out a problem. There's a structure to it. There's a process we go through along the way. So all of that will be housed there. It's the closest thing we have to a textbook. And then grades and Infinite Campus, of course, which you are well familiar with. As we go along, for any activities, and I should have put this in here too, is that Anything past a due date, it is self-paced, it is flexible. If we're past the due date and I've graded things already and I don't have yours, I will put in a missing. That's the little nudge that might help get that turned in, but that missing is always replaceable with whatever grade you would get. So I'm not dealing with late penalties. I'm not dealing with late work in that way. Just get the work done, get the help that you need. Let me know how I can help. If things are getting behind, if you're getting swamped, let's get together, let's talk, let's make a plan and put that together. In terms of assessment, I break things down into two categories. 10% from activities. These are the little things day to day, usually completion type of things. Like I said, no late penalties for this. Due dates or guidelines, keep you on track. And then 90% assessments by standards or milestones. So sometimes the kind of standard that will sit on its own. The engineering notebooks are a good one and good example that you can document your engineering process clearly and effectively, et cetera. That's a standard that'll be in each quarter. And I'll do probably one notebook check for sneak preview. I'll do one notebook check per quarter. If you're doing great on that, awesome. If that didn't go well, but you're improving your process by the end of the quarter, show me again and we'll update that grade to give you the latest and greatest. Here's where you stand now. Any of the elements that we do, those were all the A, B, C, D, E, F, all those little steps. Not so little steps, but all those steps are the elements. And then the big presentation at the end of each quarter, those are the milestones. So all of those are going in as usually 100-point assignments because we like 100-point things into that assessment. And there's rubrics that will follow all of those. And any of that, as you go, you'll get a rubric feedback, you'll get some mind notes on it, and that can evolve throughout the quarter. So if you want to improve your stuff from earlier stuff in the quarter, you absolutely can. Those can be revised and improved. I think I mostly talked about these. We'll do reflections usually per quarter on the design process and kind of how that applies to your work outside of this, thinking bigger picture, team dynamics, project management, that kind of thing. Those can be written, audio or video reflections as well. If you want to talk it out, if you want to write it out, just get your thoughts out there organized. Those are individual grades along with notebook checks and the activities. You'll be working in a team of usually 2 to 3 people. And the team grades will be all of the stuff related to the project. So all the elements, all the milestone presentations, the portfolio that goes with that documents, that whole thing. So as you do this, the portfolio, when I talk about that, that is kind of like a detailed presentation, usually in slides. So we can do other formats if you want to. Usually in slides that documents your whole process and has a lot of detail that can stand on its own. When we make presentations, we're going to take that big one and kind of boil it down to here's what you need to see while you present when you're the source of information, right? So we're going to think about what does it need to be like when it's a portfolio on its own, and what does it need to be like if it's a presentation in front of people. We're trying to develop those skills as well. So that's grades. Final grade, 20% each quarter. There's no specific test for midterms and test for finals, but basically your portfolio up to that point is your midterm, and your portfolio at the end is your final. So, which is basically a conglomeration of all the elements you've done along the way. So that's that. We are self-paced, moderately self-paced. At the quarter, I have to cut things off, but due dates indicate the pace, so as not to get too far behind. But inevitably, sometimes certain parts take longer, certain parts go more quickly. No penalty for late work, not dealing with that. The engineering journal is individual. You'll maintain a drive folder that you share with me and your team that's going to house a lot of the documentation that you put together. You're going to put together a portfolio that you build along the way. So each assignment is like adding to that portfolio. So it's not in addition to what you've been doing. All those elements, all those steps, you're just adding to your portfolio as you go. You can always make revisions, and that will improve the grade. Phones are off and away unless you're using it as an actual tool and not a distraction. Extra help and support, contact me anytime. You can email me, you can comment on Google Classroom. If there's something in a document you want me to look at and revise, or look at it from a certain perspective, add a comment in the doc, and then add the @ symbol and my email address, and that'll both push it to my email and take me directly to that part of the document that you want me to see. So I can respond to that more quickly, get your feedback sooner. Flex blocks are available, especially when you get into the prototyping phase. You may just want to find times and nooks and crannies of your day, ribs or studies or what have you, that you want to get into the shop or the computer lab, and that's totally fine. I may have other classes, but as long as I'm in this room, you can be in this room too whenever you need it. Paper.co is there to help, especially for revisions of things you write, reflections, maybe into the elements. That's super handy. And then all the standards of all the things you're going to learn in this course. Again, we're focused on the process, not necessarily the product. That's what the course is about. My job is to teach you how to solve the problem. Your job is to solve the problem. So hit me with any questions that you need and let me know how I can help. Thanks.